So we'll just jump right in. So the first question is, what is the difference between solitude and loneliness?
Wasn't there an article? I think I saw an article about this in a New Yorker or something like this on, or there was a study that was recently published. There was something out there, or a book. Uh, yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting about coaching is there's distinction questions. I love distinction questions, and it's a thing. Like what's the difference between happiness and joy, or the difference between motivation and excitement. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of these kind of distinction questions that you can ask. And one of the things I love about coaching is that the answer is unique for each person. So
Mm.
solitude might mean one thing to someone, it might mean something to something else, or loneliness might mean something to someone. So this is a question I think that each of us has the opportunity to answer for ourselves. So let's play this game. Ashley, what does it mean to you? The difference between solitude and loneliness.
Yeah, that's a really great answer, John. I agree with you. So for me, solitude is a space sometimes to feel loneliness, to allow myself to experience loneliness and understand what it means for me in that moment or that season, and to also understand that I'm not alone. So the loneliness versus being alone, and what that means for me in various seasons. So solitude is I didn't think about this before we hopped on here. I just looked at these. So solitude for me is a space to allow things within myself to unearth, like to give myself space for whatever is going on internally within myself to come to the surface. And it's a safe space, and very much like coaching, I feel like that as well. What happens there. But it's a space for me to be able to slow down, be able to just breathe. And I think in solitude, for me, there's prayer and there's a connection for me and God in that time. That's a really big deal with solitude, and welcoming Him into these places that are getting unearthed and just taking time to be present with it. Sorry about that. And then also, someone's like, no solitude today. um, and then uh, when I take time in solitude, it also brings creativity. There is, I think, something to like allowing ourselves to just take away noise, and even in solitude, sometimes I'll bring reading or prayer scripture into it, but there's other times of just sitting in silence and allowing myself to be kind of bored and kind of not really know what to do with myself. And it's amazing what comes up. Like creativity, I feel like a lot of times is resparked when I feel like my brain is maybe a little bit jumbled, or there's not a lot going on in the brain. And when I take that time, a lot of times there's things that come up that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm really excited about, or that's where this came from, you
Yeah.
know. So just solitude can be a really cool space for um, imagination, for connection to yourself, to higher power, to connection to those around you when you take that time for yourself. That's a lot. Solitude is actually like a really important daily practice for me, and I can feel it, and it makes a huge difference when I don't incorporate that into what I'm doing. And it doesn't mean like some days look a little bit more than others. Like yesterday I spent like 40 minutes in just solitude, when other mornings it might be like 10 minutes or like 5 if I have that time. So that's what it looks like for me.
That's cool. That's cool.
What about you?
Yeah, similar, totally. I think what's interesting is uh, it comes up for me when I ask the question to myself is uh, I don't think it's as much around about. I mean, solitude. It feels like you're actively seeking it out. It feels more like a um, intentional space,
Mm-hmm.
whereas loneliness, I think it has more to do with connection. So I feel like even in a crowd, you can feel lonely in a crowd or lonely in a group. But usually solitude. Uh, yeah, I mean, solitude it can be really powerful. I feel like so much deep work gets done in solitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Sometimes when I'm being coached, I really like working with my coach over the phone because I can feel like the coaching experience too feels like solitude. Like I just hear her voice. It's just, it feels almost like solo time with help. Like,
Hmm.
uh, I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but it feels like uh, the solo time plus or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.